the what we are going to cover now, the putting together is an important part of how these concepts come together in sort of the framework we will use for this course. So I think just to make sure, yeah, thanks Rajni for the thumbs up. Uh, Rasika, Aditya, Tushar, Payal. So I think those are the ones. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Rasika, Payal. Okay. Yeah, Monica, yes, got me. Video is on. That's good. Okay. Yeah, they will either see the recording. So let's see. So now let's get into how all of this is coming together. So, so this is one way, at least the way we look at during this course. So we start with how sort of the process of evolution, how things evolved. So it evolved with this blank slate. So it was empty. There was nothing, and that is what we called as yog, swast, or anandmay. So putting those three thoughts frameworks together. So that state of nothingness is or empty or complete oneness where everything is the same is there. Then there was a will or a certain intelligence that created that distinction between what that is and what otherwise is. And then there was an evolution uh, of the cosmic intelligence came into existence or Vigyanmay. Now, from there, we move to the field where the Triguna operate, right, which is Tamas, Rajas, Sattva. So the three beyond the Vigyanmay is where Tamas, Rajas, Sattva operate. And we see their influence or their activity in terms of our thoughts and emotions or manomay, in terms of our life processes, energy or pranamay, and in our body in terms of annamay. So this is how the entire sort of world or existence exists, or how it's gotten created. Now, what happens because of the influence of the Triguna in this field, and we will call that the field where we have the influence of the Triguna, we lose touch with our cosmic intelligence, right? So this connection becomes weak. The connection between the field and our cosmic intelligence becomes weak, and we become aswast because cosmic intelligence is our connection with our swa. So we become less and less sthit in our swa. So we operate less from our swa. What we can do through the process of yogification is we can access our cosmic intelligence through this field. So we can reverse this sort of process, reverse this direction, proactively seek to access our cosmic intelligence. And the process of yoga or yogification is the process which enables that. Okay. When we do that, when we through the process of yogification, we experience this cosmic intelligence, and it's taking us back to our swa, or making us swast, or getting us into a state of yoga. Now, this cosmic intelligence that we experience it in different ways, right? Different people at different times will experience it different ways, and some of those are silence, wisdom, flow, inner voice, now, present, being in the earth, freedom, stillness, peace, love. So these are sort of the different ways we experience cosmic intelligence or the manifestation of our swa as best as we can. And this experience connects us back to our swa. And that's the process of yogification. This flow inward. Okay, so this is where we're trying to put all these the different frameworks of Triguna, Panchakosha, Yoga, and so I think those concepts are coming together uh, in this one picture and the one process where there is, as we evolve, we move outwards from our swa through the cosmic intelligence, we lose connection, and we then, but through the process of yoga, we can get back to that same state of being swast. Okay. So this is now going back to our first slide of the journey of yogification. This is that summary here, what that journey is all about. Right? So between these different layers of existence, these three gunas, what is that journey about, and the goal. Just to summarize, to put that into context, the previous slide, that description is the journey of what's happening in our life and what we can do on our own. For people with scientific again background or orientation, the default process of moving towards the triguna, the power of the triguna is what is known as entropy, right? And entropy by default increases, the chaos by default increases, and that's what's happening in the field, right? The field is all about chaos, about pluralities, about multiplicities. Everything is so diverse, so complex. It keeps spreading and becoming more and more fine, more and more thing, and that's what entropy does. That's the default direction of movement. While yogification is a very intentional process of organizing, of simplifying, of moving towards that state of oneness, state of onlyness, state of being united. And in the middle of that process is, this is a very important layer, the cosmic intelligence, the Vijnanmay layer, which is the subjective experience. And I think this I can't highlight more the importance of it because it's subjective. And this is where a lot of debate, dispute, fights happen on what is right or wrong many times, because we see it from the Manomay lens. But this is really all the same. It's just the same thing being viewed differently from different dimensions, from different perspectives, from different views. And hence nobody has the complete picture. Everyone has only a part of the picture, part of the puzzle, and that sort of results in problems when you think that anybody thinks that that is the complete picture. So your experience will be your own experience, and to trust that, to have that faith that your experience is your own experience and that is a valid experience, not go by anything whatever is said. And that's why there are so many scriptures, so many people who have described their own experience, and they have often differed on what that experience is. Okay. So what happens a little bit more in detail to give a sense. So what happens when yogification happens, right? So we said how the default moves. What happens when yogification happens is the field. What happens to the field, right? So I think even Arjun asked that question, what happens after we pass away? But even in our lifetime, once we are operating more from this Vijnanamay kosha as much or from our swa, the what happens in the field is it becomes a manifestation of what we are meant to do. So right now, it's a what happens in the field, what happens in our daily life often is a compulsion almost. It's what is happening by default. But the more we are able to operate from our swa, from our Vijnanmay, it becomes the other way. It becomes that these become then tools. Our Annamay, Pranamay, Manomay, our mind, body, life energy, or the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas become our tools to manifest what we want to manifest in this world. So it becomes less about receiving and reacting what we are experiencing, but more about intentionally expressing the joy that we are, the Anandmay that we are, and expressing that out in the world. So that's the impact of yogification. So it's not like when we yogify or when we are in yoga, all of this will not exist, because the matter, the triguna are there. That doesn't go away. It's just how those triguna act starts differing. It becomes an intentional process rather than a reactive process. And that's the sort of the purpose, the intention in some ways. Okay. Quick thoughts, clear. I saw one comment, it seemed encouraging, but others also. So Fitz, yeah.
So I have two questions, Sandeep.
Hmm.
One theory we have heard is when we are born, we are very pure. Like a child always smiles and very honest, says whatever he or she wants. And then as we experience life and gather our moments, experiences, then we get trapped in everything else and we lose our swasth nature. Is that true, or my theory is because child is not accountable for anything? Let's say घर में खाना नहीं आ रहा है, nobody will blame the child. They will blame the father. What kind of job you are doing, or are you not earning money, etc. So, is that true? And how do you?
So my view is, and whatever I have read, it's not like child is born pure. But the fact is that we are born, our seed is in the desire, right? Our birth is due to a desire. And the process of birth itself is such a painful, violent process. So we are born with our karma. So we are not born with a blank slate. So there is something there. Whatever we experience in life is also part of that. The parents we get is part of our karma. So it's all intertwined. Having said that, our upbringing definitely affects us a lot. What we do in our childhood, it creates more sanskar. So I think that's where that picture comes. There is definitely a lot of influence, a lot of learning in the early childhood that happens. So that is also well known. Uh, I think either way, both cases, we have to finally, wherever we are now in our atha, what do we do from here, and how do we move ahead from where we experience life, right? But the child, yes, there is a certain innocence in children, but there are all kinds of children also, right? There are children who have a lot of anger already, even in their childhood, everything. So I think there's a fair mix. It's not an empty slate, definitely. I think, to answer you very. But at some stage, I guess the before it manifests, there is that's the anandmay state. Yeah, that's where we are one with everything. That's where there is nothing. Okay, good. So clear here. We'll move to the next then. So what happens is clear. Let's see. Okay. So now let's get into the process of yogification a little bit more, right? So that's the key. What we are all looking forward to. Goal clear ho gaya. Are we getting into the details, the brass tacks of what the yogification is? Now, Swami Vivekanand ji, there are lots of paths of yoga. So I think as per Shiva, he gave 112 paths or so. But thankfully for us, Swami Vivekanand ji simplified them into 4 broad streams. Okay. And so let's see what he says. But maybe goal, state, clear. I will spend time. Okay, their journey, the process. So to see the 4 streams, before we get into the 4 streams, we have to see that they have a common goal. So the goal is not separate, right? This is the image which that's why it's best to see it as a stream which merges either in the same ocean or in the same river. They finally become one. So in fact, each of these, particularly Raj Yoga, actually has many sub streams also, which come together into Raj Yoga, and then all of these merge together into the same ocean, the ocean of oneness. That is what we have seen. So having that perspective as we look at them is very important, because again, it shouldn't be about which is better. Is there an absolute best stream that is there in, and that's the last purpose of this. The point is they all get us to the same place. Just like any other journey, the choice is ours which route we want to take. It will get us there, all of them, sometimes a combination also. Yes. Now about the process, the important, some key elements which are common across these streams, right? So the first is that the learner or the doer is ourselves. We are the doers, there's nobody else around that. And we are also the subject. So this is like an experiment where we are the observer and we are also the subject. This experimentation cannot happen with anybody else. It can only happen with ourselves. Nobody else, not even your closest relative, most intimate person you have a relationship with, you cannot experiment with them. All you can do is experiment with yourself. You are the subject. So the changes will happen to you. The changes we have to bring is to you or to ourselves. And same is for who will learn. Only we can learn. Nobody else in this process. Now, across the processes, what is the difference, right? So the first thing that will be difference is the object. What will we experiment with or what will we work with? That will be slightly different, right? Slightly or majorly different. And that object can be a unit or a whole unit. Now, just to explain maybe this terminology, unit is in the field, in the Triguna, in our Manomay, Pranamay, Annamay Kosh, right? So we will pick something from there. So we can pick our thoughts, or we can pick our emotions to work with, or we can pick our body to work with. For example, that's a unit, right? So different streams of yoga, pick different units to work with. Okay. And similarly, there is a whole unit. Whole unit is the expression of these in the Vijnanmay Kosh. So this is peace, love, wisdom, silence. So working with at that level. So different streams, we may work with something at the field level or something at the Vijnanmay level. Okay, so that will be different across the different streams. That's what's differentiating the stream, not who is the learner and what we are learning with, what we are experimenting with, but what is the unit, the object that we choose to work with. That will be different. What else will be different? Of course, the whole unit itself, because the way that subjective experience will emerge will be different. If we work with our thoughts, it will emerge differently. If we work with our emotions, it will emerge differently. If we work with our body, it will emerge differently. If we work with our prana, it will work differently. So that will be a different experience. Then the units will be different, as I said. The other thing will be key dualities will be different. So as we work with different aspects, the multiplicity of the field will synthesize into dualities. So that's the process of yogification. As you can see in this symbol also, that from multiple, it will start first become dual, and then it will become one. And these dualities will be different. They are still in the field, but they will be different. So for an example, if you're working with our emotions, one of the classic dualities likely to come is what we like, what we dislike. Like and dislike. So if we work with our thoughts, then things like what is right, what is wrong, that duality, right? That separation. So first, there will be clarity in that segregation. First, it will be very confusing. What is right, wrong? There will be so many things. And then it will start emerging into category of two, very clear, black or white. And then it will become one as well. That's the process of yogification. In that step-by-step way, it moves. That clarity starts emerging in our mind. So those are the dualities, and the dualities will be different. So for example, again, if you are using body as a tool, as our unit, then pleasure and pain will be the duality. Things which will give pleasure, which will give pain, they will be dual, and then slowly they will also merge into one. So that will be different. That subjective experience will be different. Of course, the laws or the science, right, which is around the unit or whole unit that we have chosen. The area will be different. So this is like if you are working with thoughts or emotions, the details of that field will be different, right? The body, it will be different. And similarly, the tools or the technologies that we use will be different, right? For body, it will become asanas. For emotions, it will be different processes that we use, and there are many processes. For thoughts, it will be different that we will use. So the reason we are sharing is this is the conceptual framework or like a template for each process as we go through this journey. And we'll come back to it also towards the end. It will get more clearer on what is different across the streams. So effectively, you will end up like a table like this, right? Stream 1, stream 2. For each stream, we will know what's the subjective experience of the Vijnanamay, what are the manifestations we see at the unit, at the field level, what are the laws that govern, what are the tools or technology, what are the dualities that are there, and during this course, what did we choose? Because sometimes the streams will have multiple units, whole units, etc. But what did we choose right now as an experiment in this? So this is the broad framework that we will use for each stream as we go into detail. Okay, and it will get more clearer as we start practicing it. Just wanted to share this upfront so we are aware that there is a framework as we are working towards that. The second thing that is very important as we explore this movement or yogification, that at different points, but during the whole process, there will be two kinds of movements between the field and swerve. There will be two kinds of movement. So one is the movement which is outside in. So we are moving from the field on the left that you see, moving from the field towards inside, towards our Vijnanamay and towards our Anandmay. That will be one flow. And the other flow will be that from our Anandmay to our Vijnanamay to our outside. So this is the on the left that you see outside in is about moving from pluralities in our experience, like I said, to wholeness. So first it will be plural to sort of a duality to oneness or wholeness. And this is the movement from the field to cosmic intelligence to our Anandmay. So, for example, an example would be in food, and you've started doing that in Sanjeevani, identifying and consuming healthy foods, right? So this is our intention on what is the right food to eat, what are the right exercises to do, to basically help us get in a state of being sthit in ourselves, get into a state of well-being, becoming swasth. Same with iceberg. So looking at what is the need behind it, what are the values. So that is this process that is moving, and we will keep doing this very, very actively. Similarly, the second process that happens also is what we see on the right, which is moving from inside out, and we need both of these. So how does the inside out process work? It works by anchoring in the experiences of our wholeness. So anchoring in love, anchoring in peace, anchoring in silence. So each one can choose what is their essence, right? What works with them the most. So, but anchoring in that and saying from that, then operating outward. So when I work from a state of being of love, from a state of being in silence or being in peace, how do I act then? So it is about, so in that terminology, right side is a lot about the being, working from being, and here it's about doing. But the process of yogification is keeping this movement very, very fluid and flexible between the two. So always looking at what I did, was it from this place of anchor, and am I acting from this place of my anchoring in this wholeness? Yes, so these are the two movements. So for example, in this ahar, one example is what we have again seen, mindful eating, right? Eating in silence. So there you are eating from a place of silence. In Vyayam, cultivating willpower. In Vichar, anchoring in love, for example, as an emotion, saying whatever I will do with love. So those are the kinds of examples that we will come across and practice. But essentially, these two movements are continuously happening in our situation in every day. Okay, so the process will have both of these components. Clear? Any? Yeah. So the two movements will happen, and that framework which I shared, the table, that for every process that we now start looking at, we will move towards creating that table. That there is a unit in the field, a whole unit, the tools, the science of it, that specific area. And now we'll get into, that's why those specific domains and experiences. Okay, now getting into the four streams. So the origin of the four streams. So we come back to Swami Vivekananda's statement. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples or forms are but secondary details. So this is the statement which defines those four streams of yoga. I think thing to right now at least note is that it says by one or more or all of these. So there is no one combination. It's or any one path. It's whatever it is. The goal is and be free. So here for him, he's emphasized freedom, freedom in everything that we do. And of course, the goal is also to manifest the divinity within each one of us. Okay. So with this statement, these are the four streams. Then he goes on to elaborate. The first one, philosophy, Gyan Yoga. Second, psychic control, Raj Yoga. Third, worship, Bhakti Yoga. And fourth, work, Karma Yoga.